This is the In Focus podcast from The Hindu.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the In Focus podcast. I'm your host G. Sampath. India's historic triumph in Barbados has laid many ghosts to rest for a generation of cricketing stalwarts who have now passed on the baton. The victory in the T20 World Cup final has finally earned Rohit Sharma a place in the pantheon of world-conquering captains alongside the likes of Kapil Dev and M.S. Dhoni. But was there anything that set this team apart from the others in the past, equally great if not more, that came only too close to miss, such as the one that lost the ODI World Cup final last year? And what does the retirement of Kohli, Sharma and Ravindrea Jadeja from the T20 format mean for Indian cricket? What's in store for Indian cricket fans and for T20 fans in particular, with the Women's T20 World Cup scheduled to start this October? We discuss all this and other questions around the T20 scene for India in this special edition of the In Focus podcast. And we are joined by Amol Karhadkar from the Hindu's Sports Bureau. Amol, welcome back to In Focus. Thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure, Sampath, for a change on a slightly happier note than usual.
Yes, absolutely happier note for sure. So to start with, in your view, I was just wondering about this as well. Is there anything either in cricketing terms or in team composition or in spirit, so to speak, that sets this team apart from all the others of the last 13 years that came very close to winning a World Cup but fell at the last or the penultimate hurdle?
It does, Sampath. And some of our listeners would jump in and correct you. But you said it right. For 13 years, they haven't won a World Cup. For 11 years, they hadn't won the ICC title. The 2013 Champions Trophy. Now the whole cricket world is divided whether Champions Trophy should be touted as a mini World Cup or not. Let's not get into that. Coming back to your main question, it does. Primarily because this team plays as a team. See, especially in the Virat Kohli era, or even in the latter stage of Mahendra Singh Dhoni's captaincy era. Okay, it's like that great saying that Ravi Shastri used, that famous quote after they won in Australia, that Indian cricket has so much of depth that we can field three different teams at the same time. I had an addition to it that yes, India has enough depth, but it cannot produce one champion side. Okay, this team has shown what requires for a talented bunch to be a winning combination. And that's to play for each other, to see each other's back. This final was a great example. You won't be able to point out one decisive moment. Okay, there would be at least 10 moments that played a part in eventually Rohit Sharma lifting that trophy, not in Ric Flair style, but in Lionel Messi style. That's the only botch-up he had on that day, actually. But overall, I feel credit should be given to Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid for ensuring that a flock with inflated egos and even more inflated bank balances has to back each other for a team to win laurels.
Right. So you're saying that the team spirit was what stood out, and unlike earlier maybe where we have had situations of a very strong team, but each strong player also carried a baggage of a very strong ego as well, and there were probably interpersonal dynamics which weren't ideal for the team having each other's back, as you put it.
Yes, undoubtedly, and it matters when it is required the most.
Right. Now, South Africa, coming to this final, and there's one question which I've been sort of dying to ask you. When South Africa needed 26 from 24 balls or 4 overs, they had 6 wickets in hand. And I was, telling a friend, who is not a cricket, not a cricket buff, he just watches cricket randomly. There is a World Cup on and there is a TV on. He might tune in. I was telling him, listen, I can tell you India is losing this match. So what did you think at that point of time? Did you think India would win? And if not, what was the decisive turning point in the final?
Okay, so I would go 1 over back. That 26 runs of 24 balls. The over prior to that, Bumrah bowled. And at the start of that over, Akshar Patel had been tongued for 24 in an over. South Africa required 30 runs in 30 balls. That's when I discussed with a friend with whom I was watching the match that the only way for India to have a chance of winning is Bumrah to concede not more than 8 runs and pick 2 wickets. Okay. So all those things actually happened. Bumrah's 2 overs were a luxury. So India, even at 30 of 30, could sense that they were not out of the game. Okay. And yes, that South Africa, the whole baggage. Okay. What India suffered from at World Cups at crucial moments since the mid 90s till 2011 is what South Africa have been carrying ever since their readmission into world cricket, right? So that C word that all of us hate as pure sport admirers, that C word did play a role somewhere, but in this case, it was more of India's brilliance than South Africa.
Why do you say C word and not chokers?
I did say that. It just sounds fancy, no?
Okay. Right.
Yeah. So for me, it was a combination of India's brilliance and South Africa's tag of being a choker. It wasn't purely a choke on South Africa's part. It was absolutely brilliant with the way India handled their last 5 overs.
Right. What struck me was, throughout my growing up years, I don't watch cricket that closely now as I used to in my teenage years and, childhood, early 20s. And one thing I remember again and again is that Indians love to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And what really set this victory apart for me personally was that we did the reverse. We snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. Would you agree with that as something which is completely different this time around?
Yes, exactly. And that's where it was shown. As in, it's like, see, they had been dominant right through the tournament. None of these two teams had lost a game. South Africa had already created a record of winning the most number of games in a T20 World Cup edition, even before entering the final. So this was actually the battle that you had to win if you had to win the World Cup. And in this game, I was dreading before the final that what if India batters falter in the power play if they are 2 or 3 down for hardly anything. Can they actually salvage and put up a respectable total? They managed to do that. The other fear I had was what if Bumrah or Kuldeep, one of them have a terrible game or the opposition succeeds in going after them. It happened with Kuldeep, but still Arshdeep, Hardik, all those guys ensured that they could actually overcome what Kuldeep could not achieve. And that's where selecting Akshar Patel turned out to be a trump card for India all through the World Cup.
Right. And how would you compare this victory with, say, the 2007 World Cup victory, the first of Mahendra Singh Dhoni's great achievement, or the 2011 ODI World Cup victory? How does this compare with that? How do you contextualize these?
Okay, I'll try my best to do that. 2007, I'm sure you don't know this, but I was there.
I think that was also in the West Indies, right?
No, it was South Africa.
South Africa, right. Okay.
So 2007 T20 was kind of a lottery. The last thing that was on the mind of majority of teams that were participating was playing cricket. Okay. The T20 syndrome hadn't really hit India. They had played one T20 international. No one actually back home bothered about this World Cup because for unless till 4 months prior to the tournament, India were threatening, the BCCI were threatening to not play the World Cup. They were saying you can't make us mandatory. Okay. They had their own sweet reasons in their battle with ICC. Okay. So whatever happened over there was a bonus. Some of our friends, you know that we journalists on tours travel as a flock. So some of us who were sharing an apartment, we were hoping that India bows out of the Super 8s so that the office will not be bothered and we can cover the semi-final in Cape Town, because India was not supposed to play in Cape Town. India was playing either in Durban or Joburg. Okay, and we had to Cape Town. So it wasn't to be. Not that we regretted it, but India did scrape through thanks to South Africa's choke again. So India went through, and the rest is history. But over there, it was all a bonus. The whole euphoria built up only after they beat Pakistan in the final, right? 2011 was out of the world. 2011, no one can match 2011 for the sheer baggage that Indian cricket carried for almost 3 decades. And even now, majority of cricket fans, except for millennials who anyway outnumber the rest of us, but still the majority of cricket ecosystem feels that ODI World Cup is the real World Cup, not T20 World Cup, right? So in that sense, the 2011 achievement will always, I think, be a step ahead of this. But let's not forget that ever since IPL started, every time Indian cricket was put down, and rightly so, is that you may have the biggest T20 league in the world, but you are nowhere close to being the T20 champions, right? That baggage has been taken care of.
So that's interesting, Amol, because so you're saying so since the creation of IPL, this is the first time India has won the T20 World Cup, right?
Exactly.
I think that's a really a headline a perspective, you know, that it took so many years of IPL before we could actually win, and we actually won the World Cup, and there was no IPL, and our top players didn't think it was important enough to even be in the team. Tendulkar, I think Dravid, they all. I think it was partly there.
They all a message was passed on to them that it's better if you pull out rather than being dropped, because
Yeah.
we had a head chief selector in Dilip Vaisya.
Yes. And I think it was a young team without the baggages of the stars, which actually, you know, went ahead and played. Again, I think one thing I remember with the 2007 team was that they played as a team with the same team spirit instead of, you know, each trying to, what we normally see in other tournaments. I think that was one commonality with this particular year's 2024 team as well. I think it's very rare and not very easy for Indian cricket teams to play as a team. Like something you should take for granted in any football team. You know, mostly for the most
So that's
part.
what I was coming to. My parting thought on that point was this World Cup has finally sealed the doubt that Indian cricket is slightly ahead of English football when it comes to success of their franchise-based league or club league and the success of national team.
Right. Yeah, we have just, I think, marginally edged it. So, how would you characterize Rahul Dravid's role in this triumph? I mean, there was a lot of criticism after we didn't do well. I mean, we did well after, of course, we didn't bring home the cup in the ODIs. So, what exactly did he contribute in this tournament win, and who are the prospects lined up to succeed him?
Okay, the second one I'll come to it. The first bit, over the last few hours or days, we must have been reading a lot of glorification of Rahul Dravid. Okay.
Yeah, you know, my journalist instincts reflexively sort of veer away from any kind of glorification, even if the glorification is deserved. I'm a little skeptical. You know, I don't like this building up someone into such a huge figure especially in a team sport. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Right. So, just before the World Cup started, Sportstar, our sister publication, their digital platform asked me to do a video analyzing Rahul Dravid's tenure heading into his last assignment. And I had rated him around 8.5 to 9. Okay. Out of 10. That irrespective of the result of the World Cup. Okay. That's because he brought in this unity. See, besides man management, okay, to have that sense of unity, like I'm saying, with every passing year, if there are 10 crorepati's and 6 franchise captains in the national team, everyone's ego becomes the major hurdle in team's success and goals, right? So for that to achieve, you had to have someone like Rahul Dravid, who majority of them have either played under or started idolizing him as kids, or have been groomed by him either at under 19 or at NCA or both, right? That's the contribution of Rahul Dravid to this setup, that he has shown them the way to play together and succeed and enjoy each other's success. That has also been on the wane in the last few years. Okay. That is where I would, and like Rohit Sharma said over the last week, that it didn't matter where he was, he would keep in touch with like 50 odd cricketers on a daily basis, helping them in whatever way he can. Right? So he didn't only care about the 15 that he was dealing with on a day-to-day basis. He also ensured that the next lot of 15 who were not all format regulars or playing format specific cricket, and the next lot after that, which is the fringe guys, he kept in touch with all of them, gave them the confidence, gave them tips on what to work on. And again, Rahul Dravid, being Rahul Dravid, he is a silent operator. Okay. He would actually influence even selection. Right? But you can't actually pinpoint it. That's the beauty of being Rahul Dravid, and he has successfully managed to do it. The problem is the successor will have his own style. So whatever has Rahul Dravid tried to inculcate in the last 3 years, depending on who his successor is actually the moot point of seeing whether the same legacy can be carried forward. Yeah, and the bit about his successor, right now we know Gautam Gambhir and W.V. Raman have been interviewed for the posts of head coach. BCCI Secretary Jai Shah has said as soon as he comes back to India, he will convene the Cricket Advisory Committee meeting, seek their opinion and finalize the appointment. Gautam Gambhir is a front runner by the looks of it, but after the T20 World Cup win, some of the players in India's setup whose voice matters, their apprehension has apparently been conveyed to BCCI office bearers. So that may be a reason for the announcement to prolong. Does that mean there will be a twist in the tail? I'm not so sure for now.
What is their apprehension? What are these people's apprehensions about Gautam Gambhir?
One, he is strongly opinionated about certain individuals. Okay, not just Virat Kohli. Okay, there are many more. And two, the other apprehension is, yes, he has been the mentor for an IPL franchise when it comes to strategy part for Test cricket. Can he actually do that? That's the apprehension.
Right. Anyway, Kohli is moving on. So that actually reminds me that
T20. Only from T20. The other two for he wants to be around forever, right? And rightly so, because there is no reason for Kohli to make way unless you have someone who's knocking on his door.
Right. So now, how do you understand the significance of Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, and Ravindrea Jadeja retiring from T20 cricket? Are there others, like, I know people are talking about Yashasvi Jaiswal and Rinku Singh? Are these the guys who are going to replace them in their slots? Or like, how will their departure affect the Indian team? And they've also got their franchisees.
See, ever since the 2022 World Cup semi-final loss till this World Cup cycle, for most of India's bilateral assignments, these two had not played. The only time they came back to T20 setup was for that Afghanistan series in January, when it was all but confirmed that they are going to feature in the World Cup. Right? Otherwise, the world was assuming that Hardik Pandya will lead India at T20 World Cup. It didn't happen. Right? So, these two actually were the flag bearers of Indian cricket's transition / stagnation when it came to T20 international. Okay. The next World Cup cycle leading into the next T20 World Cup, which is going to be in India. So with India being defending champions, it is going to be a massive tournament.
When is the next T20 World Cup happening? Which year?
2026, co-hosted by India and Sri Lanka. Okay. So that's going to be massive. So right now, see, when Jai Shah made that great announcement in February that Rohit Sharma will lead India uh, at the T20 World Cup. Janda gaad denge statement. Okay. He made that in a speech. Minutes afterwards, I was a part of the group of journalists who asked him about Hardik Pandya. He underlined that Hardik Pandya will be the vice captain. Here, 2 days after the final, while interacting with media persons, he said, I can't decide who is going to be the India captain. It will be up to the selectors, right? Things have changed. You have a Jasprit Bumrah, you have a Surya Kumar Yadav, who are strong contenders. Okay. Plus, you are not sure whether Hardik Pandya can remain at his peak. We have witnessed what Hardik Pandya at his peak can achieve for India, right? So, all these ego tussles will also have to be managed by the new coach and by the players themselves. Whether they can do that will reflect in what happens in the coming years.
Right. No, I was reading through a lot of this analysis and commentary on this World Cup victory, and quite a few writers, respected writers, they are saying that this victory is going to inaugurate a phase of world domination for Indian cricket. You just need one big victory like it happened for Australia in the late 80s. Then they went on winning several World Cups and tournaments. They dominated for decades. So is this that kind of a moment, this T20 time? Do you think this is going to open the floodgates for titles after titles, because we have so finally put those ghosts to rest of being semi chokers or whatever?
Many wrote and said the same in 2011. Many wrote and said or underlined on their statements in 2013 when India won the Champions Trophy. What happened thereafter? So all I'm trying to say is it's too early to talk about this because a generational change has been witnessed in T20s itself. Okay. So let's just wait. Let's just wait for the next 2 years. You have the Champions Trophy ODIs in 2025 in a matter of 7 to 8 months from now. Then you will see World Test Championship. Then in 2026, you have the next T20 World Cup. So hold your horses for 2 more years and then we'll talk about it. Is all I'm saying.
Right. One question I had for you with regard to the nature of T20 cricket. When I've been reading random reports that there are coaches who are sort of getting brought in from baseball, and apparently someone like Klassen is not practicing at the net so much. He's just practicing his swing, his backlift and swing, so that he's able to hit. So is T20 cricket gradually changing from batting being what we understand traditionally as batting to being swinging like in baseball? Is that sort of creeping in?
Yeah, that's been gradually changing for a decade now, Sampath. Okay, you have range hitting specialists.
Okay.
Okay, in baseball, there is a term range hitting.
What is range hitting? What exactly is range hitting?
You just tonking it into the stands. No, doesn't matter where it pitches.
Okay.
You just have to gauge the arc of the ball and hit through the line. So that's why there is this increasing trend of balls being wasted at the cost of a boundary hit or a six. Okay. You would have witnessed, if you saw the matches of late, that a lot of the big hitters, if they're playing the last 2 or 3 overs, they do not take singles. So they say, okay, I will compromise a single because the guy lower down the order is going to either miss the ball or at the most take a single and rotate the strike. That will cost me 3 balls in all. Instead of the second ball, I hit a six. Rather than having 2 runs in 2 balls, I'll have 6 runs in 2 balls. To make that happen, they are making use. Even women cricketers do that. England opener Danny Wyatt was a prime example because women cricketers till not so recently struggled to actually hit the ball consistently in the air and hit it long. So Danny Wyatt started off. England had a baseball expert as a consultant for T20 women's team also. So everyone has been doing that of late.
Okay. Does the Indian team have a baseball expert as well?
No, but if and when required, players do consult someone chupke se.
Oh, okay, okay, that's interesting. Now you were talking about women's cricket, Amol. I was just wondering. See, the T20 World Cup is coming up. It's starting in October. How is the Indian women's team shaping up? We don't seem to be like playing too many T20 preparatory matches. There are other formats, but we don't have too many T20 matches lining up to test the sharpness of our batters and bowling and so on. So how is the preparation going? Are we legitimate contenders? I think Indian women's team has never won a T20 World Cup, right?
No, they haven't. And again, just like in men's cricket, there are four prime contenders with the gap in quality. Okay, India is one of them. India will be playing the Asia Cup later this month.
Asia Cup is a one-day tournament, right?
No, it's T20s, no?
Okay, okay, fine, yeah.
So from the end of the Asia Cup till the World Cup, I don't think at the moment they have any international matches lined up. There is a prolonged camp planned ahead of the team's departure to Bangladesh. But I don't know whether lack of match practice will be a factor because they'll try and play as many warm-up games and there will be a few warm-up games. But I feel Indian, as in not just Indian, especially Indian, those girls are used to not playing too many international fixtures. I am not trying to defend it. That's the fact. So for them, it's not too different. Some of the girls will be playing in England in that 100 and all. But otherwise, for the others, they'll be training together and hoping to actually replicate the men's team success.
Right. Who are the other big contenders? You said the four big teams. You mean Australia, South Africa, and England?
No, it's Australia, England, and New Zealand.
Okay. Okay. South Africa is not a good team.
Not as good a team as these four.
Right. And how would you rate Indian women's team's chances on a scale of 1 to 10?
See, I just hope that Indian women's cricket again manages to break the hoodoo because all said and done in the last decade, they have achieved a lot of exemplary stuff, but they don't have any silverware to show for it, especially when it comes to world stage, right? So they have made the final. They almost won a final of an ODI World Cup, but almost winning is not winning at the end of the day. So once they win that world title, they can rightfully demand a lot of stuff that they assume they should get just because they are playing cricket for India. And the whole women's cricket ecosystem will realize the importance of winning the title.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Amol. I think that's a very good point. I think we can probably hope that the Indian men's team's success will hopefully rub off on the women's team as well. It will probably be a good luck charm, and I think they will be definitely inspired by the success in the men's T20, and I think they'll be in a good wicket, a good place to sort of aim for the maximum as they go into this tournament in October. Thank you so much. Once again, absolute pleasure talking to you and discussing cricket with you, Amol. Thank you.
Thanks, Sampath. Again, a lovely time.
In Focus will be back soon with analysis of the biggest news issues. In the meantime, you can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and other platforms. Just search for In Focus by The Hindu. We'll see you soon.